Welcome home. This is the Irish Roots Cafe, where every day's a holiday and there's always room for one more. Come right this way one more time. Have a seat with me today in the corner booth, celebrating our 97th week. We're closing in on 100, folks. Sweeney, clear that floor. Katie, bar the door. Molly, put on another pot of Irish coffee. It's time we get this show on the road. We got another full house today, not a chair to spare. I'm Mike OLaughlin, your host. Reach me on my webpage at irishroots.com anytime, and be sure to check out the written show notes on my blog that have a lot of links that you just click on, and they'll take you to places and things that I talk about in these podcasts. And you can also on our webpage search for through all of our books and videos and podcasts for free. And remember, you can leave a message. Call me at 816-256-3360 to leave your comments or your thoughts about family history or some notes on your family history. Leave that on my recorder. Try it. You'll like it. Hey, among today's topics, Smiley is the name of the day. Talking Irish place names is the webpage of the week. A Donegal Man sets a world record. The Annals of Ireland by the Four Masters book and map videocast of the month. And Wren Boys are going strong. No Christmas pardon for these turkeys. And searching for Kelly, McBride, Hart, and Hennigan. Hey, that reminds me to let you know that I've got 5 podcast feeds out there now. You can go to iTunes and get all 5 of them, or you can go to my webpage and get any one of them you like. They're all there for the taking, and they're all 4 of them are broadcast free, so take advantage of that. Now let's go over some of the notes for the week. Well, number 1, we've got a couple of audio notes coming up here. I'll play in just a second, and I wanted to post them right away before we jumped into a new year, and I'll do that in just a second. One of those is on the Irish Song and Recitation broadcast, and the other one's on a question about coat of arms for Clan Rory. And let me see, we'll go on down to one other note I wanted to make sure, as you know, that counties Antrim, Down, and Kerry have that 1911 census going online that we can all take a look at if we have folks that late. Or I tell you, even if you got some folks back in the late 1800s, you might look at that 1911 census to see who was left behind, or what town lands your name is most popular in, and what some of the first names might match up with first names in your family. It's at the National Archives, and we'll have that as one of the web pages of the week a little further on in the podcast. And let me see, number 3, this is our first broadcast of the new year. It's our 3rd year in broadcasting, and gosh, we've had about 30 years worth of writing and publishing Irish books. So it's my best to you all I want to give, and I hope you all enjoyed the spirit of Christmas, and I hope this new year is good to all of us, and we overcome all those obstacles that are laid out in front of us. But now let's play those 2 audio notes and see what's been going on.
I'm Michael. My name is Michael O'Hare. My family is from Hazel Green, Kentucky, and I had received a letter saying something about the Clan Roy coat of arms, and I was wondering if you would know anything about that coat of arms. It says that the motto is Pavante, Pavente, Deo, Pavante Deo, and I'm wondering if you know what this means. It says it means by God's favor. I'm wondering if you would know anything about the coat of arms and what the motto really means and where it originates.
Well, thanks for the note, Mike. I've got to tell you, I don't think there is a real legitimate coat of arms for the Clan of Rory. Now, there are a lot of arms listed for the families that are in the Clan of Rory, families like the Moores and Cronellis and Dugans and Morans and Linnans and Lawlers and McCormicks and Madorchis and Dugans and Duggans and McKeows, and 20 or 30 more families, or maybe 40 more families that I have listed in. We put out a book a number of years ago on the history of the Clan of Rory, or the Rudricians, or Rudricians, descendants of Roderick the Great, monarch of Ireland, compiled from the ancient records by Cronelli, and that was from libraries of the Trinity College and the Royal Irish Academy, from the native Annals of the Irish, and the publications of several learned societies and other reliable sources. And I don't think I ever found any legitimate coat of arms for the Clan of Rory. I guess you could invent one in modern times, but the Clan of Rory was founded so far back, and all the families branched off of it in ancient times, and some of those families could have a claim to a coat of arms, but surely not the clan as a whole. I think that would be an invention of magnificent proportions. At least that's my opinion, and if you have other facts to back up another opinion, be sure to let me know, because I'd be real interested in seeing something that I never thought existed. It'd sort of be like a flying saucer or a man from Mars. If you brought it up to me and proved it to me, I'd have to admit it. So let me know about that. I sure haven't heard about that before or seen anything that verified it. Now let's move on to call number 2.
Michael Laughlin. My name is Mary King. I looked up your website, and it says there's upcoming free videos in this weekly series include what I'm looking to get is the Irish Song and Recitation Festival. I'm also looking for funny Irish stories, not adult Irish jokes, that are not in good taste. But if you could get back to me about that would be great. Thank you. Bye.
Well, thanks for the note, Mary. I think you might be getting it a little bit off center from what you've read. The Irish Song and Recitation Festival is free, and it's online. And I'm getting ready to start the second season. The first season is still up, and you can go listen to it any time. But I don't have a CD just for the Song and Recitation channel, although we're planning a few CDs here. They should come up this year. You can also find Irish recitations in several inexpensive printed books. They'll call them like the Irish Reciter or the Ulster Reciter. So if you look for a reciter, you might have more luck than just saying recitations, but there's plenty out there that can help you out there, and some of the libraries ought to have that too, and I know there's some online, so I hope that helps you out. But I have no Irish Song and Recitation CD. Our videos are free, and they're on the internet as well as a podcast, and we just put up the Irish Song and Recitation video, which just explained a little bit about the festival and what we do and asked people to participate. So I hope that helps you out there. And gosh, now I guess it's time we got back to what? That does it for the note for the week. Well, let's take a look at our very special Book of the Month. Well, our Book of the Month this month is going to be The Annals of Ireland by the Four Masters, as translated by Connellan. And we've got that video for that book is going up this week, too, on our video podcast, available on our webpage or on iTunes. So if you take a look at that, it gives you a little idea about what the Four Masters was. And I've had so many questions, I thought I'd talk a little bit more about it here, and we just get it all out at the same time of the year. Start the year off right, I think. Now, the Annals of Ireland by the Four Masters, they were compiled in the 17th century in County Donegal, and that was mostly credited to Brother Michael O'Clery. And sometimes the Four Masters are referred to as the Four Friars. And you know how sometimes the Irish might have a way of expanding things. You start out as just a guy, and then you're a friar, and then you're a master. So they became the Four Masters over time. And they were put in, all this information, the annals, was put into writing in final form by the Four Masters in the Franciscan monastery in County Donegal, starting in 1632. And the work was finished in 1636. And you may wonder how we know this. Well, it was written right into the front of the book, who sponsored the book, how it started, and what they did to put it together, and what the date was, and who helped finance the operation, which is very, very important. And they, like I said, they completed the work in 1636, And many of the sources that they drew from, they went out and found fragments of history everywhere they could. And a lot of the books they took information from are no longer available to us. So that makes it a real important source for that reason, as well as several others. Now, the Franciscans, the good Franciscans, they say, were supposed to have supplied food and lodgings for the Four Masters. And Fergal O'Gara, the Lord of Moy O'Gara and Coolivin, is said to have sponsored that project. And it was to him that the original Annals of Ireland by the Four Masters were dedicated. And that's a pretty important thing to do. So you O'Garas, we all owe you a vote of thanks for that. And some of the books that the Annals of the Four Masters combined and put all together there were the Annals of Tigernach, the Annals of Innisfallen, Clonmacnoise, the Annals of Ulster, the Book of Conquest, the Book of MacBruden, the Book of MacFurbis and O'Conry, and the Book of Dugannon, and the Book of Lochree, and it also includes Connellan's translation of the works of O'Haran and O'Dugan, which are of particular interest to family researchers, pinpointing the locations and sometimes the flags and banners of particular families as he understood it. Now, there's one other thing I haven't talked a whole lot about. I've been giving you each week or so information on what families were found on the map of the Four Masters. Well, let me tell you a little bit more about that map now so you can understand it as we go on through the year. And this map is really an amazing map, especially for its date and its time. And it's the only, the Connellan translation of the Annals was the only edition that has this map in it. And it's a gigantic folding map with many, many names on it. And it shows the locations of hundreds of Irish families. And on the map itself, it says it's described as families as they existed under the Milesian kings, with the old principalities and other chief divisions, the palaces of the kings, ancient cities, bishops, sees, and remarkable places, and the territories possessed by each of the Irish princes, lords, and chiefs from the 11th to the 17th century. And it also notes that they show the possessions of the Danes or the Vikings in the 10th, 11th, and 12th centuries, and of some of the Anglo-Norman and Old English families from the reign of Henry II to Elizabeth, and that goes all the way down to the middle of the 16th century. And they also note that on the printed sheet accompanying the map, an account was given of the extent of all the ancient territories and of the possessions, ranks, titles, and descent of all the Irish princes, lords, and chiefs. And it goes on. And, of course, that map was put together by Philip MacDermott, and that's the one that I had bound into the back of the second volume of the Annals, translated by Connellan. And, you know, that's such an important map. I think I'm going to come out and print 100 extra copies of it since I keep getting requests. And if you want one, be sure to let me know. Drop me an email, and I'll put you on the list. And hopefully in a couple of months, I'll have those done. Well, let's move on now. I think, hey, wait, you know what's coming up? We're going to talk about eating Christmas dinner with a whole new meaning. You'll see what I mean a little bit later. We won't do a county of the month. We've taken up enough time on other subjects today, so we'll be flexible. That's good. But you know what time it is now? It's time to raise our eyes skyward, give thanks, and ask for help. Here are today's Magnificent Seven. Number 1, new member Mary Mertz of Webster, Iowa, looking for Kelly, McBride, and Smiley. Number 2, new member Robin Jurin of Santa Rosa, California, looking for Hart and Hennigan. And Robin says, my grandfather was full-blooded Irish. The paternal side was Hart, and the maternal side was Hennigan. And I'm looking for info in the 1800s. That's interesting. You know, there were some Harts in the 1800s. Of course, John O. Hart was a great genealogical writer and compiler of history. And Harrigan and Hart was a famous musical team in America. They did quite a bit of work if you look into that history. Number 3, Adelard Valancourt of Leominster, Massachusetts. Your passengers from Ireland has shipped, and I think we might have got you on last year's podcast, you too. You might have got a free double listing here. No extra charge for that. Number 4, Ray Montgomery of Clarkson, Utah. Your County Donegal genealogy book has shipped. Lois Wright out of Maryland, Your Families of County Galway has shipped. Beverly Downing of Martinez, California, Your Irish Families on the California Trail has shipped. I hope you enjoy it. Number 7, Martina Kelly of Ballinasloe, County Galway, Ireland, Your County Galway Genealogy and Family History Notes is shipped. You know, I once took a young lady over to Ireland who was searching for the family, and I think they were tied into Ballinasloe, right there in Galway. And her family, I think there was a policeman, old police records that she tied her family name to, maybe in Dublin, and they had come from Ballinasloe. I just thought I'd throw that in there. All these things make connections. And, you know, we talked about California here, Beverly Downing up there, and there's a new book out called How the Irish Won the West. I think how it goes, and it talks about famous Irishmen here and there, and I've covered some of that same subject in Irish Settlers on the American Frontier, and I was pleased to hear that Molly, when she was in Ireland for Thanksgiving, was reading that book, and all of a sudden in the middle of it, it starts talking about Michael O'Loughlin's book and what he said about the Irish in California, and I thought, well, isn't that a fine thing? It was great. It only took about 30 years to get out there, but that's nice to know that we can all work together and dig up some facts on all these things. You know what? That reminds me to thank all of our members, because without you, there wouldn't be one podcast, there would be no books, and we'd have just no fun at all. So I appreciate each and every one of you as a member, and do what I can to help, and I know you're doing it there too. It's always a small group of people that come out and support the big projects, and you're one of them. It's a mighty special thing you're doing. Well, now we're going to move on to the Irish family name of the day. Today's family name is Smiley, and we're going to spell it as Smiley, and that's in honor of our magnificent 7-member up there today, which was Mary Mertz. She was also looking for Kelly and McBride, but we took the harder of the 3 names, just because nobody talks about some of these rarer names. And, you know, that can be spelled a lot of different ways. It can have 1 L in it or 2 L's. It can be spelled on the end with an IE or with an EY, or it can just be a Y instead of an EY, or it could have 2 Y's in it, like Smyly. And they all mean Smiley, and they can all be talking about the same family. It just depends on who wrote down the records and how they felt on that day. And that name is part of Variant Spelling Group number 1899 that we've compiled. And that's taken from the Master Guide to the Various Spellings of Irish Family Names. I've got a link to that on my blog, too, if you're interested in that one. Now, we'll just have a little bit about the name. The Smiley family of Camus, or Camus, depending on how you're pronouncing it, and Castlederg in County Tyrone descend from John Smiley, who came from Scotland and settled at Carrigillion near Camus in 1628, and this family is given in the Irish Book of Arms. I got a link to the Irish Book of Arms on the blog too, and the birth index of 1890 found that family centered in County Antrim, so it looks like we're up north there in Ireland, County Antrim and Scotland. And that information came from the Book of Irish Families, Great and Small, the master volume to the 34-book set on Irish family history that I put together over the last 20 or 30 years. Well, let's take, we just mentioned that we found it in the Irish Book of Arms, and in that Book of Arms, we have an illustrated arms in black and white for the family of Smiley of County Tyrone. So that might be of interest to you if you're looking. And if we move on down to the free master index search of Irish names on our webpage, and you should do the same thing with your names, you might get a kick out of finding out what books it's in, and that might tell you maybe what county the family's in. But we found Smiley in here 15 times, and of course one was in the birth index, and one's in the families of County Donegal, Ireland. That's also in Northern Ireland, so everything seems to be centered up north today for the family. And we also found a Thomas Smiley in the Journal of the American Irish Historical Society, and a Senator Smiley of South Carolina who was in the Revolutionary War and was referred to as a veteran of that conflict in America. And that was in the Journal of American Irish Historical Society, volumes number 3 and 4. So there's some researches to look for if you're looking for a history of the name. And coming up later in this episode, the Irish Place Names, a website that translates and pronounces some names for you right there online. Well, I tell you what, we might as well just go right ahead and do that. Websites of the week. The number one website is that Place Names of Ireland website, and they advertise it as having speaking ability. Actually, you click on a link and it'll speak out the name for you, so that's handy. And it's operated by Dublin City University. And you'll get some names that are translated there, and you can hear the pronunciation of some of them, like I said. And the link for that's going to be on the blog today. And number two, I mentioned earlier, the Irish Roots Cafe video podcast of the week is the Annals of Ireland by the Four Masters. I'll have a link on the blog, and you can get it on our webpage, or you can go to I think that's the fifth episode of our Irish genealogy and history videos, and that's going up today too. So that should be interesting for you. And let me see. Number 3, the Census of Ireland for 1911 is coming up online. And they've just added counties Antrim, Down, and Kerry for that 1911 census online, or they're doing it right now. And that's at the National Archives. I got a link to that on my blog if you want to look at it. And, of course, they've earlier last year to be now, 2008, they had Dublin go online as the first county, and now they're adding these counties, and they're just going to keep on going. So that's good news. And they had a little note on their website, and it says, the household returns and ancillary records for the censuses of Ireland of 1901 and 1911, which are in the custody of the National Archives of Ireland, represent an extremely valuable part of the Irish national heritage. And I guess that's why they're working to put them all up online. And you can read more about that census history and details on the National Archives of Ireland webpage, and the link is on the blog. Well, that brings us up to some people's favorite part of the show, the very end. Curious news and notes. We'll go through, we're going to have a whole 8 of them since we're starting off a new year here. Let's just see what's happening. Well, good old Seamus Boyle, some of you Boyles out there might be related to Seamus. He was commuting 216 kilometers daily to work, and he just got tired of having to wait for the ferry. Didn't leave till 9, I think, and by the time you got to work, it might be noon, and by that time, you may have lost your job. So he founded his own ferry service from his island home on Arran Moor that runs right into mainland Donegal at Burtonport. And he's now got 2 ferries going, and he's thinking about a third, and he'll even carry your car across, not just a physical body. So they might cause a population explosion on that island with all this good service. And they said old Seamus is he's in the Army, and he's still commuting back and forth, but he's getting things running with that commuter service off the island. Well, 3 cheers for Seamus. Number 2, a Donegal man, Ivan Scott, broke the lamb shearing record in New Zealand recently. He clipped a world's record 736 sheep. My, that would have been a job. Number 3, Aer Lingus will be flying out of Knock Airport to London again beginning in April of 2009, according to recent reports. Number 4, the top 4 place names being researched at the webpage of the week up there on place names. What 4 do you think they are? Dublin, Dingle, Belfast, and Tallaght. Well, I thought they might have been researching Shannon or Innis, but no, those are the top 4. But you can go up there and find more information on that. There's been several places doing more research on place names lately. That's good to see. Number 5, in County Tyrone, Claire and Paul Sweeney And their family, that includes their 2 young boys, have raised 2 turkeys way back since they were chicks. And one of them is named Christmas, and the other turkey is named Dinner. And that's what they're slated to be, dinner for Christmas, or I think it's already took place now. And they wanted their boys to see just where a real Christmas dinner came from. And you think there might have been some remorse over sacrificing the family pets, but 6-year-old Seamus said he looked forward to eating them on Christmas Day. And it doesn't look like a pardon is in store for those turkeys, so it's all been done. Christmas dinner. I tell you, there's some foresight in that. Number 6, over 1,000 people joined in the Wren Boys parade in Dingle, County Kerry over Christmas and New Year's holidays, and some were wearing masks and others were in fuller costume. One contingent even started out from O'Flaherty's pub and was joined by a fife and drum band. And that's an old St. Stephen's Day ritual to have that parade, and it's been popular in Dingle for at least 180 years. And Wren Boys parades are held in several areas throughout Ireland, so it's a little custom you might want to get used to. And if you see a bunch of guys dressed up sort of strange this kind of year with straw or things around them, that might be a tip-off. If they're acting a little peculiar, it might just be some Wren Boys. Number 7, Guinness is set to bring out a special brew for this St. Patrick's Day in honor of their 250th anniversary. So get ready for that one. Who knows what they're going to have? I just hope it's not green. The can could be green if it was in a can, but I think Old Stout or whatever they're brewing up should have a color of hops in it somehow. Number 8, and the finale for the day, Westport County, Mayo, a town I've been in several times, is a tidy town once again for the year 2008. Westport reigns as Ireland's tidiest town again this year. So congratulations to Westport. Remember to send your comments by clicking the contact link on our webpage at irishroots.com or send by mail to our American address at the Irish Roots Cafe, Box 7575, Kansas City, Missouri 64116. Leave your message or report on things in your part of the world when you call my phone recorder at 816-256-3360 and Skype me at Irish Roots Cafe. Members foot the bill, so they get first priority, but we're open to all. And by the way, a big thank you to all of our members. And away.